Hello, brothers and sisters. This is your boy BC. Welcome back to the Based LDS video. I apologize for no videos over the weekend. I took ill. You may hear a little bit of it in my voice still. But things are going good now. And I hope you had a great weekend. I hope while you're able to go to church on Sunday and partake of the sacrament that you got something from participating in that great ordinance and renewing your covenants. This video is made because of a request. One of someone who watched a previous video, I don't follow her, those sound weird, but someone who watched a previous video asked what my advice would be for them as they were new converts to the church. First off, congratulations. Welcome into one of the most unique communities in the world, being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You will be richly blessed for your faith and for your potential future sacrifice. We'll talk about that in a minute here. Before I talk about what it takes to be, what my advice would be, I want to share one of the most heartbreaking stories from my mission. I've brought this up before, but I was called to an area in Montreal, and I worked with a gentleman and his wife and child. And the man was actively interested in investigating the church, and the wife was going to join him a little bit later on. She was not quite so passionate about it. Several sets of missionaries had worked with him before. We'll call him D. And D had worked with several sets of missionaries for the months, maybe even a year or two before I got there. Problem was, D had read a lot of anti-Mormon literature. And he had a great deal of anxiety about joining the wrong church, which is understandable. And nothing the previous missionaries did were able to help him. He was willing to meet, he was willing to talk, he was praying, he was reading, but he just felt some hesitation. And when I got to the area, I'd seen God Makers, I'd read a lot of the literature, not everything, but I knew a lot of what he was going through and what he'd been experienced, what he had experienced in his readings. And I sat down with him, and I watched his movies, and we read his material together, and to the best of my ability, out of the scriptures, this was in 1996-ish, so, no internet, no smartphone. We're not doing any of that. It's going through the books, pulling out scriptures, recalling talks from ensigns, things like that as best I could, where I had the physical ensign in my hand, and trying to set his fears aside, to calm him, and reassure him that the path he was on was worthy and good. D eventually made the decision to be baptized. He was baptized, and I was he asked me to perform the baptism, so I baptized D, and we're in the changing room. And I just looked at him, I'm like, hey, how do you feel? How was it? And he's like, I am on such a spiritual high right now. I don't believe I ever doubted. I know what I'm doing is good and true and right. And he just spoke glowingly. And I thought, all right, that's it. He's good to go. And 2 or 3 weeks later, I was transferred out of the area. A few months after that, I was contacted by missionaries in his area. D stopped going to church. D had doubts. The missionaries couldn't settle them. The missionaries could not answer some of the doubts that arose in his mind because of things he had previously read. And because they were not as familiar with the material as I was, they couldn't answer his questions. They couldn't keep him calm. They couldn't bring peace to his mind. And Dee eventually stopped going to church and fell away. I spoke to Dee's wife years later on Facebook. I got on Facebook, tried to reconnect, and they were openly hostile. And that is a tragedy. So when you ask me what my advice would be, it is to stay close to the promises made in the sacramental prayers. And there's a key word: remember. I would hope that you would remember every day the good feelings you have of the gospel. I hope every day you will remember to read your scriptures and say your prayers. I hope you will choose to focus on Christ more in your life. When you go about doing what you're about to do through the day, what would Christ do? How would Christ do it? Maybe not so much what, because the Holy Ghost is going to prompt you to do things. The things the Holy Ghost will prompt you to do are good things. But maybe the question will come to your mind, how do I do this? Do it in the way Christ would do. Don't do it as Johnny would do it. Don't do it as your bishop would do it, unless you're prompted to be like, hey, I remember when my bishop said or did this, in which case that's the Spirit prompting you to follow a path. But what would Christ do? I remember listening to several talks from Elder Bruce R. McConkie, and he would, for the most part, end his talks with maybe do what the Lord would do, say what he would say, believe what he would believe. And, he'd say 3 or 4 things like that. Now, they would change from talk to talk. Have faith like he had faith. Number of things. But do those things that Christ would do, and try and do them as you think and you believe he would do them. And do it in a spirit of humility. There's a promise in the 19th section of the Doctrine and Covenants. And it's the Lord speaking. And I think it's verse 23, if I remember right. Learn of me. Walk in the meekness of my spirit, and you will have peace in me. We learn of Christ by opening the scriptures. We walk in the meekness of his spirit by trying to do what he would do, by doing the things he would have us do, by following the promptings of the Spirit. When you do, you will have peace. You are not guaranteed success. You're not guaranteed there won't be some heartache or heartbreak. You're not guaranteed it will be easy. But you will have peace. And that peace is the Spirit with you to let you know that you're on the right path. All too often, when we think about what the Lord would have us do, we fall into a pattern of what I call checkmark sainthood. Checkmark sainthood says, I wake up, I pull out my piece of paper, I say my prayers, check. I read my scriptures, check. I get a little exercise, check. I read something from the prophet from the Liahona, check. I do my home ministering. Check. I attend sacrament. Check. I contribute in elders quorum and Sunday school, Relief Society. Check. I provide service in the primary. Check. I provide. Check. You get the idea. It's a long list. And I'm not saying not to do those things, but don't do them for the sake of the check mark. Don't do them because it's on the laundry list of things the Lord would have us do. Do them because you love the Lord. Do them because you love the people that you're serving. I have seen all too often as I watch these videos from people who used to be LDS, they never fail to tell you all the things they did in the church so that you knew how faithful they were. I served in my elders quorum. I served in my Relief Society. I was the primary pianist for 20 years and the ward pianist. Excuse me. I did this. I served a faithful mission. I did this. I did that. And at the end, it was never enough. Because more often than not, my opinion is they were serving because it was the checkmark thing to do for Mormons. Because good Mormons do these things. We often hear stories of poor sisters that are sick and tired and worn out, serving in Relief Society, primary, making chicken noodle soup for the sick sister across town, preparing this lesson, sewing badges on uniforms, and then they come home and they don't understand why the home's a little untidy, if not a wreck, while they're trying to maintain 12 children and hold up to all these check marks. The Lord would have us put first things first. We're commanded to not run faster than we have strength because we will falter. We will not finish the race. So do your ministering, provide service for others, read your scriptures, but don't make it a checkmark laundry list. See to it that you budget and allow time in your life to do what you need to do, but to set aside time for your family, for yourself, and allow yourself, hey, I couldn't get to Joe for home ministering this month. Maybe I can just give him a phone call and see how he's doing. Sarah needs some chicken noodle soup. I don't have the money to go to the store and buy $50 worth of chicken, noodles, and fresh vegetables. But I have a pan of pasta that I can prepare. Some sauce and some noodles. Maybe that will help her out. We don't need to go to extravagant means or ends. We can live within our budgets personally and monetarily. Sacrifice. Make tithing a priority. It sounds stupid. Tithing. Oh, with all the church, with all that's in the news now about the church and their money issues, right? Improper filing and secret reserves of all this cash. Why does the church need my tithing? The church does not need your tithing. I'll say it again. The church does not need your tithing. You need sacrifice. We're not in an age and a time when we're slaughtering bulls, doves, lambs. You get the idea. Now our sacrifice is 10% of a checkbook and whatever we can consecrate throughout the day for others. Sacrifice is for us, not for the church. Sacrifice is for us so the Lord can bless us. It is not for God. but God will use our sacrifice to bless others. And we, in turn, will be blessed for our sacrifice. Be glad to give your honest 10%. Be glad to give 5 minutes here, an hour there, to serve others. That's sacrifice. Sacrifice creates and grows faith. Loving sacrifice creates and grows Christ-like faith. Reading your scriptures. Don't read your scriptures to read your scriptures. Read your scriptures to learn of Christ. Center yourself in Him. Place your trust in Him. Walk as He would walk. Say what He would say. Do what He will do. And you will better understand the scriptures than in any study method or talk that has ever been given. But I guarantee if you go back and you watch talks on scriptures, they will tell you to follow the Spirit and look for Christ in the scriptures. Same when you pray. I want to circle back to that last word, remember. Remember why you joined the church in times of doubt. Remember, the Lord loves you when you are tired. Remember, when you are in the service of your fellow man, you are in service to your God. We, at various times and places, are called upon to be His angels on the earth for His children in need. Let your family know how much you love them, how much they mean to you. And remember that the family is the center of the order God has set up for our salvation. Your family has to come along with you. They have to know they mean something to you. Remember that Christ, in His last moments of agony upon the cross, put the charge of His mother into the care of one of His disciples and admonished that disciple to look upon her as His own mother. Remember that not all of your prayers will be answered immediately, nor will they always be answered in the way you expect. Nor will they always be answered at all. Remember a suffering Christ in Gethsemane. Not my will, but thine be done. Father, if possible, take this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. In one of my previous videos, I talked about people who had to wait years for answers and then realized the answers had been coming, but not in the ways they expected. And so when they finally saw the answer, it was upon reflection that they went, oh, you know what? He's always been there. Too many people that have left the church and then make videos about it talk about how prayers weren't answered, needs weren't met. But those are also people who only looked for answers for a few months to a year and a half or two, and then just quit. Well, God's not there. I'm not getting it. You might have to wait hours, days, weeks, months, or years, or never get an answer. But if you pay attention, you will find that other prayers are being answered. And that's what those people have missed. They have forgotten. They did not remember the way the Lord works. Remember. And by always remembering Christ, you will always have His Spirit to be with you. His Spirit is revelation. His Spirit is peace. His Spirit is comfort. So my advice, look unto Christ in all you do. Do what He would do as best as you can. Allow yourself to be imperfect, and allow whatever you do to be perfected by Christ through your imperfect self. Don't expect perfection from others. They can't do it. If I were called as an apostle tomorrow, I'm not suddenly going to be granted great swaths of knowledge and insight. Nope, you're going to get Apostle BC. Goes in, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to grow, and I'm going to lean more heavily upon Christ. I don't expect Elder Bednar to be more perfect than he was the day before he was as an apostle than the day he was after his first day. Let people grow into their callings. You'll grow into your callings. As you are charitable with others, people will be charitable with you. That's part of remembering. Remember to be humble. Remember to be Christ-like is remembering to forgive others, for they knew not what they do. Or maybe they did not know how to do it, and they were just surely trying. I wish you luck on your next part of life through this journey in a new church, in a new faith. I hope that you won't lose the spirit of excitement. I hope you'll keep a journal. And I hope it won't be a journal of things that you did every day. I woke up at 6, I exercised, I went to work, had lunch with Joe. I hope I woke up today. I said a prayer. When I was at lunch, I felt like God said this to me. Wow, amazing. What a great day. That's the kind of journal entry. I remember I heard, and I don't know where I heard it from, but they're talking about somebody was at the Heber C. Kimball home. And Heber had been out in fields, and then he'd been called away to minister to sick. And I don't know if the person was there because they were helping his wife. I don't remember what it was, but they wrote that Heber came in, said he was too tired to eat, and went straight to bed. He threw himself upon his bed and said, Lord, bless thy servant Heber, for he is tired. Amen. The best prayers are not wordy or lengthy. They're sincere. They're reverent, respectful, and sincere. So keep an honest journal and be sincere in your prayers. And see, this goes on and on. But I wish you luck. I hope that you won't have doubts. But since we all know they'll come, I hope you'll have faith. You'll trust in the answers you've already been given, and you'll go with it. I think that's it for now. I hope you have a great day, and I hope this helped you. Thank you for listening. Peace out.